Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark off-season edition. I don't have a banner for our show because I forgot to make the appropriate graphic. It's about 9:30 here on Tuesday, April 22nd. The Mavericks have been eliminated from the playoffs for a couple of days, and is this the first time we've talked since things have ended?
Yeah, this is the first time we've talked since the Memphis game.
Okay, my brain's mashed potatoes because there's just always things. Currently, we're coming to you. It's middle of the first quarter of game 2 of the Lakers game, and Luka Doncic has 14 points. It's just beating the shit out of the Wolves kind of single-handedly. It's we're here. We're coming to you on Tuesday. I'd mentioned that Josh and I hope to record on Monday, but the cool thing about the offseason is that you can simply choose to not do a thing. And Josh and I kind of made the executive decision last night, just Monday. It was Easter Monday, a thing I don't remember being a thing when I was a child. My kid didn't have school. Josh was
I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Wow. That's why I took the day off. Neither kid had school, so I was by like 3:30 in the afternoon, I was just toast. So when you were like, I don't know, like we might be able to record late, and I'm always the one who's like, yeah, sure. And I just told Josh at like 9:15, I was like, you know what, this ain't gonna happen tonight. Yeah. Which was a little bit disappointing, but I think sometimes when you and I have more time to reflect on the news of the day, that can actually make for a little bit better of a show than our immediate live show. So, like I said, we're coming to you. It's about 9:30 on Monday. Nico Harrison did his scheduled exit interview, which just real weird. Real weird.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I am.
Yeah. I don't want to hear from him ever again. And it's a waste of time at this point. I think we get it from the closed media session right before the Memphis game, and then this open media session. I mean, it wouldn't be even productive to continue talking to him because it's pretty clear he has a one-track mind in terms of what he's going to answer and how truthful he's going to be, or what he thinks. I mean, he's literally repeating the same answers that he said in the closed media session. He's not answering questions so that he can repeat his talking points, which is not unique to him. That's pro sports leaderships don't ever really talk truthfully in public. I mean, that's not a new Nico Harrison thing. I mean, Cuban never did it. Donnie Nelson never did it, and most teams never do it. So it's not unique to the Mavericks. But at this point now, I mean, everyone's asked him all the questions. He's not going to answer them to the degree that's going to make anyone happy. So I don't, I'm just I don't want him to talk again because that means we have to talk about it again, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's kind of my high-level thoughts.
And we're here, and we're still kind of formulating our off-season plans. So one of the things I think is important before we kind of talk about the substance of that exit interview was that when Nico Harrison spoke to the media, whatever day it was, roughly 10 days ago, 7 days ago, whatever, I have it on pretty good authority. That was supposed to happen April 2nd, April 3rd, which was before the Lakers game. Lakers game was Wednesday, April 9th. That should have happened a week or so before. And I think, again, this is me speaking with limited knowledge, but I feel okay at least putting this out loud because I think the timeline is interesting. He was supposed to speak end of March, early April. And I think he kicked the can down the road in an attempt to run out the clock because this has been reported. He was told by Patrick Dumont to do this. I bet what he thought he could do was run out the clock and have it happen in the form of the exit interview. Because these two media sessions were way too close together.
Or did he think that he wanted to hold off till after the game if there was a chance the Mavericks would have won? In his mind, does he think that would have made it better when he did talk to the media?
Interesting theory.
I don't know.
But the first one was very much supposed to be an off the record talk with no cameras, no recording, and in typical I don't understand how the media works dictatorial fashion from people who are first-time power holders. He was not prepared for the amount of what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we chatted about this in the live show. Mark Stein, who is as calm of a reporter, even keeled, does not take sides, very old school, was angry about that first press conference, which is why he did not go. Because he didn't like the rule. He's like, you're not going to tell me how to do this. And I listened to a really weird segment on the Dan Le Batard show today about how it's like, well, that happens. You know, these people, these powerful people will kind of get you in a room and tell you how to do things, yada, yada. But I think this was new, what they were trying to do. In that people like Nico doesn't have any friends now. So like the off the record bull session, which I'm sure is what he envisioned, quickly became a very uncomfortable situation, which is why they actually agreed to go ahead and let people record and transcribe before the Mavericks could put out a situation of their own. Now, again, this is the day of the first play-in game against the Kings. So there, that was the 16th, roughly. Yeah.
Yep.
So that happens, and then he has this exit interview today, Monday, which was in front of God and everybody with cameras on. And that just clearly couldn't have been the thing, because I want to talk a little bit about the substance of the actual press conference, but everyone who is even remotely friendly to Nico Harrison on a national television sense was like, you have to stop talking. Charles Barkley, because the press conference on Monday was quietly a disaster in the same way that the off the record, like no video cameras press availability roundtable was very quickly a disaster. And that came, what was most interesting, we've not really talked about it enough, but what was most interesting was Tim McMahon had published a sort of, this is a institution. The Dallas Mavericks are an institution in, like, they're just in chaos in terms of their their training staff, and it's just with Dirk. Like, it was just Monday was really messy. It was really messy. And you'd think Josh and I would kind of want to come in here guns a-blazing to talk all about it, but it's sort of like what Josh said a second ago. It's just like, again, like what are we it's not funny. It's not even that rewarding. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been kicking the shit out of this guy for 3 months. Like, it's not even, I feel like that meme. Have you seen that meme with the bird where he's like doing stand up and they're like booing, say, get better material, and he's looking at his cards and they just say crow, 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 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, I don't even know if people want to list. Like, I guess maybe people do. I don't know, but like, and he didn't say, like, I think it'd be different if he said something that was like, okay, well, we can at least talk, but like, he keeps saying the same things. Like, the thing that came out of the closed media session that really frustrated me was, he kept repeating defense wins championships. And I just desperately wanted someone to ask him, okay, defense wins championships, but last year you went to the finals with one of the best defenses in the NBA. After you made the Gafford and PJ trades, you had one of the best defenses. You rode that best defense into the playoffs. You beat the 4, 1, and 3 seeds of the Western Conference using that great defense. And then in the finals, you lost because your offense stunk, and you actually held one of the best teams in NBA history well below their offensive rating from the regular season. And in that number would have been below league average, I think, what the Celtics did in the finals. So, like, I just wanted someone, okay, knowing all that, why was that defense, which was clearly good enough, and the reason you lost in the finals was offense, why was that defense not good enough with Luka to fill your defense wins championships mantra? And finally, some people kind of got at that question at the open session, and he literally just was like, defense, like, I believe in defense, and Anthony Davis is a two-way player, and we felt like we had the opportunity to go get him. And it's like, no, that's not. That doesn't really answer the question, which, goes to show that I don't think he can say, I said this before, I think if he got hit with the truth serum, he would probably say, well, I think Luka is fat and he's he's going to Sean Kemp himself in 4 years. And it's like, he can't say that. So now he has to just repeat these loops so that he doesn't say the thing that he wants to say. And it makes him sound like a crazy person. Now, maybe I'm giving him more credit than that. You know, maybe his brain is that charred up from Mamba mentality and Nike corporate speak. That maybe everything he's saying is as 100% truthful as it can be. But just to me, it just feels like with the reporting we have and the reasons why he fell out of favor with Luka, I just feel like he if he could be more honest, because he would probably say some different things. But I think he's just trapped in a loop where he can't say the thing. But what else can he say? Because none of it else makes sense. Even if you disagree with him, which a lot of people would, if he was up there and he was like, "Hey, I get it. I didn't believe in Luka. I just didn't think his body would hold up. I didn't think he had the right mindset to be a star." People could still be like, "You're wrong," but then it'd be like, "Okay, that's at least something." Like that's a line of thought that you can follow from A to B to C, and you're like, "Okay, I might disagree with this, but it's a reason." And instead, he's not saying that, and he's saying defense wins championships. Defense wins championships. I wanted a two-way player. He fell into our lap. We had to take the opportunity. And it's like, dude, you made the final. Like, that doesn't make sense because you made the finals and your defense was awesome. So I don't know. That's why I'm like tired of hearing from him, because I don't want to hear him say all this crap again.
Well, okay, and here we're gonna take a break real quick here, and I'm gonna insert some ads, and then I want to circle back to what you said, and I need you to help me remember, because I'm an idiot. But guys, so we're going to insert some ads here as best as I can. I learned from our Odyssey, which is the company that now runs our podcast, that these mid-roll is what they're called, ads. When shows are first populating on feeds, sometimes they don't insert correctly, even though I'm doing my job correctly. I went through, you guys would have laughed at me. I did like a Google screen share with my boss, and was like, "Here's what I'm doing. I promise I'm doing my thing." So if there are ads, do listen to them. Listen to the ads at the beginning and the end of the show. That's the main way you can help Josh and I. We will be right back after these ad insertions. We'll talk a little bit more about what is happening. All right, guys, thank you so much for waiting. If you are with us now, that means you are a true diehard. We are entering kind of the summer of discontent, where there's going to be a lot of weirdness. Who knows what's going to happen next? But if you are still listening to our show, that means you are a true Mavs fan. And it takes a lot to kind of hang through the rough time. We've been blessed as Mavs fans over the aggregate, particularly since Dirk was on board. Fans in the 90s would probably disagree with me just because the 90s were horrible. But we really appreciate you. Please subscribe to the show here on YouTube. I will probably this Friday, just because my job sort of sussing itself out, I think I'll be doing a group therapy. If you guys want to come talk, we had a great one the other night after the Memphis game. Really enjoyed talking with a lot of different fans. I would love to sort of look ahead, start talking about the draft, start talking about the draft lottery. The Mavs actually won a coin flip for the first time in the history of time and are picking 11th instead of 12th, even though I don't know what statistical difference that actually makes their lottery odds. So I wanted to circle back to something that you had talked about before the show. So I did really want to kick off with the press conference, but you triggered something in my brain. And Bmani Jones, isn't his show The Right Time?
Yep.
Okay. Bmani Jones, former ESPN guy, one of the really, like, he's just an impressive thinker in the sports world. He might not be your cup of tea, but I'll tell you, he was the first person to piece this together. And I'm kind of annoyed that, because he's a Houston guy and he has actually told me that he thinks it's funny that we're suffering in one way, because he's a Houston guy. I appreciate that sort of regionality. And he was the one on his show yesterday pointed out that you moved a guy because you think he has Sean Kemp futures, which is a position you can take, right? Mm-hmm. Only then to walk into a field of rakes. And Tim McMahon, oh my goodness, Tim McMahon's article, if you've not read it on ESPN, this is why I defend him, because he knows how to do the work. He's not a public relations guy. He is a reporter. And before the Mavs roundtable, he had reporting that essentially boiled down to the training staff and the doctors that replaced Casey Smith were, and I'm paraphrasing, so nobody get me in too much trouble, but they didn't have the right certifications, and they didn't get along with one another. So you move Luka, who has because you're concerned about his injury history, bring in a guy with an injury history, and then also bring in a injury training staff that is not really up to par. Then you throw yourself on the injuries as a reason why you can't be judged for this season. What did you think of that, Josh?
No, I hate that. You can't use injuries as an excuse when you trade for 2 injured players at the trade deadline. Like, you made that bed. Like, it is unfortunate, but the minute the trade happened, I mean, both trades, both Martin and Davis were hurt when the trades happened. They didn't get hurt afterwards. They were already hurt. So you got that. And then you decided we are going to plant our flag into building this team around Anthony Davis, who's already hurt and has a long litany of injury history, and Kyrie Irving, who's also over 30, also has a long history of injuries and lower body injuries. Has already had 2 knee surgeries before he tore his ACL. Mm-hmm. So while the ACL injury might be unlucky and is not necessarily like you can point to what the causation is, but you absolutely can point to, hey, if you're gonna ride or die with these 2 guys, you are risking a lot because there's a chance that they will get hurt. So when they do get hurt, you can't just throw up your hands and be like, oh, wow, who could have saw that coming? What a bad beat that was. We were just unlucky. Like, no, the history exists. Like, I remember when we were talking about Kyrie's availability and people used to get mad at us because they were like, oh, well, that was just, COVID and the pandemic. And it was like, guys, he's had 2 knee surgeries. He has missed a lot of games simply due to the fact that he wasn't healthy enough to get on the court.
Right.
Now he's going to be 30. He's going to be, he's 10. He's on the wrong side of 30. So is Anthony Davis. Like, it's not being pessimistic or negative to be like, hey, these guys might get hurt, because if you're following history, that's what's going to happen. That's their deal. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you can't trade for injured players and then be shocked that they got injured. Like, that's kind of gaslighty.
It is gaslighty, but then you also have kind of the details of McMahon's report indicated some honest to goodness troubling stuff, in the sense that the strength coach was quite literally not certified to be an NBA level strength coach. Like, right.
And he only got approved because they basically told the
they were NBA, like, oh, okay, you're going to do it later.
Yeah, he'll get it.
That's bad. And then they had a guy who had came from the Celtics, and he was apparently just, him and the strength coach never saw eye to eye. So one of the things and look, guys, we're old. Josh and I are old. I wish I would have known some of the stuff I knew about biomechanics when I was like 15 to 18. My whole life might have been different in terms of how I feel. These guys' bodies are their money-making mechanism. You fuck with that, that's bad. And in all honesty, like, we have some like 5-alarm fires that I was really disappointed didn't come up in the press conference, because it can be safely assumed, like, without, they fuck, like, the strength coach plus the injury like the actual training staff messed up Derek Lively's season. What was ridiculous was Nico Harrison in the roundtable tried to paint it as a good thing that they caught it, that his ankle was messed up, but it's like, you should have caught it the first time.
Right. You fucked up.
Right. So it's like, and Micah asks a really good question. It's funny, Micah, I keep circling this because I'm getting to about Isaac Harris's question. This has just been an aside that I'm really kind of just fascinated by, because McMahon's article was just so, like, nobody talked about it in the press conference because it was just so Nico focused. Yeah. And I'm really fascinated by it. But the bottom line is like, before the press conference on Monday, Nico Harrison had a bad week in media, is what we'll say. Okay. Right. Then we go into Monday. There's this McMahon article which paints the office in disarray. Then there's the exit interview. Now, my favorite part about the exit interview, and you know what? If you say I'm reading too much into this, fine. Nico Harrison wearing all white at the press conference, that's a choice.
The day after Easter.
The day after Easter is a choice.
I've also never, like, he's been in public enough on camera. I've never seen him wear an outfit like that before.
Ever. And guys, you're going to think I'm ridiculous, but look, I was a gifted and talented English language arts student. I remember my archetypal hero stuff. Okay. White, heroic color. Okay. Resurrection based color. Nico Harrison is a smart man. We might think he has made a series of stupid choices because he has, but he's not stupid. So like there was a choice, and secondarily, the pullover that he wore, really cool. I would wear that pullover. Like, it was a really cool pullover.
Yeah, is that in the team shop? I don't know if I've seen that
because it was white. It was last year's team alt.
Oh, okay.
It was you know what I mean? The Mavs one. Anyway, whatever. Isaac Harris, friend of the show, Locked On Mavs, longtime contributor. And like, let's just be clear here. Isaac's my friend. I have roasted Isaac continuously because he has had some outlandish Mavericks takes. The cojones it takes to get in the first question he asked essentially boiled down, and he was the first person to ask a question, which I like. Why he like Nico clearly called on him because he thought he was getting a friendly guy. And Isaac asked him, why shouldn't you be fired? I guffawed when I heard the question. What did you think?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It was a fair question. He didn't phrase it like an asshole. He was like, explain to me why you should still have your job after the season.
Right, yeah, because they failed. So if, like, say as many excuses as you want, they failed. So it's a totally reasonable question to ask. And Nico, it was also smart of Isaac to ask that question because you know that whatever he's going to say is going to just rile people up because Nico's not going to be like, you're right, I should be fired, see you later, and then walk off the stage and we never see him again. So it's kind of funny, like that's a question like Isaac gave Nico the rope to hang himself with. Like that's kind of how I interpreted that a little bit. Because now that he gets this, then now we've got the soundbite of him being like, I think I've done a really great job amidst incredible everything falling apart. Right.
And I think I did a really great job seems to be what has most rankled the various Nico defenders in the media sphere, like Charles Barkley kind of going off, because it's just like, buddy, you can say, I believe in the long-term value of the process, which I have, or in the path that I have put us down. I have done a pretty good job when we know for a fact that he tried to trade for Kyle Kuzma with 2 firsts. That all, like essentially, and let's just be fair here, he had done a pretty good job. But if you actually look at his moves in the big picture, Nico's strategy is go all in every time. Every time. Extend as many resources as you can to build up the team, and we'll take the next step. Kyrie, he went all in for Kyrie. Like Kyrie, do you remember how pissed we were at the resources they expended for a guy no one wanted?
I mean, yeah, at the time that was, if this works, what happens going to happen? They went to the finals, or if it doesn't work, like it's over. Mm-hmm. Like this is the path of Luka leaving. Funny enough, that's kind of what
it worked.
Yeah,
and then it worked. And so it's like, and that's again, guys, like Bill Alien says in the chat, great point, Kirk. This is not a criticism of the strategy. It's simply, if you look at the strategy, it worked out. Like earlier, you send Kristaps Porzingis away and you essentially take a loss. Then you trade for Kyrie Irving, in the next year. And then I think it was next year.
Well, you let Brunson go. You signed JaVale McGee.
You let Brunson go. I mean, the Brunson thing, I don't really want to hang Nico on his own petard with that one because I think that was almost Cuban more than anything. But just really something. And so I've been thinking about that for a while, and it's one of those situations where he's just so he's so results oriented, meaning Nico Harrison, that he essentially doesn't like it when people question the process. Like there was a Dallas basketball, what's their new, whatever the SI blog is now, Dalton doesn't work it anymore, but there was an article that I didn't really love that tried to connect Casey Smith getting fired for pushing back against Christian Wood's trade, saying that Casey Smith thought he was an injured player, we shouldn't do it, which is one of the reasons that led to Casey Smith being fired.
Well, that was in the McMahon article, I think.
Oh, right? Was that?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, then I'm a moron.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I think that was a tidbit.
I read that while parenting from the Dallas Aquarium, so okay. I could be just getting some of the facts wrong, which kudos to me. Anyway, it was just such a, like, that first question was just sort of very loaded, and then it went downhill from there. I don't know who asked the question that resulted in Nico saying, I didn't understand how important the relationship was between Dallas and
Cato, I think.
And like that answer right there, like let's just be it.
Don't say that, by the way.
Don't say that.
Just don't say it. You can think that, don't say it.
Yeah. Like, because you're really saying I should be fired right now.
Yeah.
I have one really good friend, he's a Bucks fan, who is like, it is the owner's responsibility to protect the relationship between the fans and the organization. It is the GM's responsibility to build the team up as best as possible. I think that's an interesting position, but for you to either say you don't know or lie about not knowing, you're telling on yourself to the point to where I can't trust your judgment as an executive.
Right. No. And can I give you the quote that stuck out to me?
Yeah.
So he says, so a lot of questions were asked about his relationship with Patrick Dumont. So he said it actually strengthened the relationship because we talk a lot more and we're kind of linked together to this. That's the part. We're kind of linked together to this. It made us have a lot more conversations. I believe we have a really good working relationship. He came out publicly and supported me, and I don't take that lightly, blah, blah, blah. But like, I did not know who Patrick Dumont was until he bought the Mavericks. I knew who his family was. I didn't know who he was specifically. Right. I have to imagine that's similar for a lot of people. People will now know him as the guy that traded Luka Doncic. And Nico is right. They are linked together. Now, what I'm curious is Nico seems to think that's a positive. Like, we're in this together, man. Does Patrick Dumont think that it is cool that he is linked forever to this trade? And that is the thing that's going to be rattling around in my brain as I wonder how much longer Nico is employed by the Mavericks, because that felt like, to me, I don't know if Patrick saw that and he's on board, whatever, but like, there's a part of me that heard that and was like, does he think that way? Like, is he glad that y'all are linked together forever to the worst trade in the history of professional sports? Like, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I guess we'll find out. Like, I still don't think he's getting fired anytime soon, but the cracks are at least beginning to show.
So let me be sarcastic and an asshole for a moment. You're not on social media near as much as I am, but when I read that line, I quote tweeted Mark Stein and said, "We choose each other every day." Caption on the photo shoot from the joint Nico Harrison Patrick Dumont Facebook account.
That's pretty good.
Because look, Josh is in his 30s, I'm in his 40s. Let's tell you youths who don't know anything about this. There's a lot of people out there, whenever they you just see stuff on social media where when like family, like when couples are having trouble, they'll occasionally put something public out there, which is really highly embarrassing. Facebook photo shoot, joint Facebook account, something to that. And that is what that reminded me of, because you shouldn't say out loud our relationship is stronger than ever after you've nuked the franchise.
Right.
Like because we're all going to go, And there's all this like interesting reporting, like Tim Cato of DLS inched around it in an article Monday as well that seemed to say that like he's no longer bulletproof. Mark Stein, then, who is also of DLLS, but Mark Stein is a independent, like he's an older independent journalist who has his own deal. Tim and Mark are both great at this. Mark seemed to imply on today's DLLS show that there's cracks in the armor, and the bad press. One of the things that I just am so amazed at is Nico Harrison's ability to just walk into a field of rakes. Not you. You're actually quite good at this. I am really good at saying dumb shit, and I am impressed at Nico Harrison's ability to say dumb shit.
It's taking the torch from you.
Just really, he's just like, what's happening? And it's something.
I don't know. I mean, the thing I'm thinking about is the owners that own the Mavs are so rich because I was like, billionaires don't like losing money. So I wonder if part of the cracks are they are starting to get the returns from their business side of like, here's where the ticket sales are leaning. Here's where merch sale, like, because that stuff, it's been what, two months, almost February, March, April. So it's been 2 months. We're about to get on to the third month. I don't know how the Mavericks report stuff, but once you get a couple months under your belt, just from my own professional experience, you can get more concrete reporting and you can start to see trends. And I wonder if there's some money numbers coming into him over the last few weeks since the Luka trade now that are starting to kind of solidify that it was like, oh, okay, well, this is bad and billionaires don't like losing money. And another thing is these guys are like they're some of the most powerful people in the world. They're not used to getting told no. They're not used to looking like the butt of a joke. That's another thing that billionaires don't. They don't like being ridiculed in public because they are,
unless you're Mark Cuban and you have a fucking pain fetish.
Yeah, that's true. But for the most part, rich guys that have pretty much gotten their way their whole life do not like being the joke. Butt end of a joke in public. So I think that combination of, I wonder if the money is coming in, the financial reporting is coming into him, and then this PR disaster is just like, because this is Patrick Dumont's legacy now. Until he comes out and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I trusted a guy I shouldn't have trusted. We'll move on. I'll do better."
It's the easiest thing for him because most fans want him gone, but it's like, you're not firing the owner. Like, right. I used to bitch about Cuban all the time. I wrote a 2,000 word article that I'm pretty sure he read about the need to take a step back, but I never was like, he needs to sell the team. Because it's just like, you can't, like, people don't do that. Just
be a normal owner.
Just be a normal owner. And so it's like, as we're sitting here on a Tuesday night, game 2 against the Wolves, it is not even halftime, and Luka has 22, 5, and 5. And I'm sorry, like, the more Luka does, and Anthony Davis, like, we didn't even talk about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis's exit interview quotes were ass. That man is like, I'm playing Mr. Leader, look at me, tough guy. And it's like, just go get rehab. Go stop it. Anyway, the owner of this thing, it's not all. We never want to hear from him ever again. We want him to fire Nico Harrison. We want him to actually form or seek out that search committee that Mark Cuban lied to us about back in 2021. Hire someone, including Jason Kidd. We haven't even talked about Jason Kidd. Maybe we'll circle back to him. Hire other people and just start over. And I think, you're not going to get enthusiasm, but I'll tell you what will stop is the bad press.
Yeah, for sure. You have the ability to win back some trust and get some people back into the building that you might not have been able to. Sell some TV subscriptions, sell some jerseys. Well, maybe not jerseys, but just, you might be able to start selling some merch, release some classic 80s Mavs merchandise the same week you do it, get people back in the stores and buy stuff. I don't know. But yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I just don't know because we don't hear from Dumont either. He hasn't done.
His one round of press was so clearly coached.
But also, Harrison. It wasn't really a round. He did an interview with Brad Townsend. Like, that was it.
Right.
He hasn't also been in a room with people.
And Brad is you get put with ownership for the first time. And, people were so critical of your and mine, Mark Cuban podcast. The first time you're doing a sit down interview with somebody, you're not going to be an asshole. You're just not. And so, like, Brad Townsend, people were like very unhappy with that interview. And it's like, why didn't you press him harder on this? And it's like you're just happy to get the damn availability because these guys don't talk.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
You want to comment on Nico saying Anthony Davis doesn't need surgery this summer?
Well, I mean, maybe not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a long time. I mean, we're not going to play basketball again until there's no international basketball for these guys. So maybe it'll be fine.
Okay.
I mean, Anthony Davis is going to get hurt again. It might not be the abs, but it'll be something. He plays, like my friend Dumont pointed this out to me, that he wants to be seen as a tough guy and his body just doesn't let him. And there was Jason Tempf, who's one of the big Lakers YouTube guys, was just like, when he's not right, he just doesn't look there. And it's like that's part of being over 30. Like, we watched Dirk Nowitzki deal with it for 10 years. Like, you figure it out. And either Anthony Davis is going to figure it out or he's not, and we'll go from there. Yeah, I mean, the exit interview stuff, I mean, the Klay Thompson stuff was horrifying. I hope they do right by him. I don't know what that means, but I hope they do right by him because he didn't sign up for this.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
we're a little morbid.
Yeah, let's get ready for the draft with a draft pick that I'm convinced that will not be on the roster in 6 months.
There's some fun stuff here. There's some fun stuff. We're going to be able to be real mad, or we're going to be able to be like Jay Kyle Mann, who works for the Ringer, texted me the other day. He goes, "What do you think Nico's going to do?" And I said, "I think he's going to trade the pick." And then he said, "Well, I have you guys slated to take Jeremiah Fears in my mock drafts." And I'm just like, that would be the perfect player for me to move on from Luka from.
You have to explain him to me because I don't even.
He is the second youngest player in the draft. He's an OU point guard. He is very talented. He is also very young.
Okay.
And what comes with youth? Frustration. And it's just like the perfect guy for me who I would tune in every night and be like, this guy's fucking awesome on a Monday. And on a Wednesday, be like, we need to trade him to Mars on a Wednesday. Like, he's just magnificent in that way. He provokes takes, and I would love it. But, Josh mentioned this. Bill said he turned 18 in the fall. He's basically like Cooper Flagg, where he should be a senior in high school right now. I don't know what we're going to do next. So we have, I mapped out the start of a off-season schedule. We'll probably do some kind of player-by-player reviews like we've done in the past. Josh and I will meet and podcast with you guys at least once a week if not more, depending on what happens news-wise. We'll be recording at least once a week. I'll be recording kind of a secondary show. I'll try to have that on Friday afternoons. I'm going to have this upcoming one on Friday afternoon. Kind of a Q&A like we used to do in years past. Last summer, I had a new boss, so it's a different deal, but I can disappear for an hour on Fridays, and this summer we can start, and for those of you who have come on the show, prepare for that. I'll put it up on YouTube. We'll do my man Cowboy always checks in. We have a lot of good people that have and ask good questions. We will attempt to bring on draft people. It's a little hard for Josh and I, just because we each have day jobs and we're actually both looking forward to taking a little bit of time off. But we'll see where we go. We will keep putting out stuff for you guys. I mean, our draft guys are hilariously excited about this.
Yeah.
We have a draft Slack channel. It's just like our old man Brent popped into the Slack channel today, and he goes, "Would you guys want to do a mock draft of the league with us?" And it's like, well, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, just have fun. Like, the whole point of off-season content is to be able to argue. It's a great time. It's a great time. Mm-hmm. It's Tuesday, April 22nd. I'm going to go try to watch some more Andor because I didn't finish my rewatch. And then you guys should have seen the nonsense with me today. I was like a child with the Oblivion Elder Scrolls 4 remake news, which I've known about for months because it's on the internet. But I was just like, so it's just like I'm looking forward. I'm just
you
looking
got
forward
stuff
to
to
the time
do.
off.
Yeah, you can.
We're gonna.
You've got plenty of stuff to make you not think about Nico Harrison anymore.
That's right. That's right, brother. That's right. You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm tired, but we're all tired.
This Texas spring has whipped
it's so
my
bad, isn't it?
ass.
Are you staying on top of your out? Like I take a
I
Zyrtec
am.
every night before I go to bed. That's helps, but you know.
So I have this bright. You'll laugh at this. I have this bright purple towel, and you've been in my backyard. We have this big table that we kind of entertain at. I go out there every couple of days, and I get it soaking wet and wipe it off, and it is. You can just see the pollen. Yes. It's so gross.
Yes.
Cowboy asks if Josh and I will see Sinners. Josh is seeing it soon on like 70 millimeter.
I'm seeing it, 70 millimeter IMAX on Friday at the old Cinemark off Webb Chapel in 635. Going with Megan and a couple of friends. Yeah,
that's gonna we have to talk about that then. I'm sorry, and we have to.
Talk about I will. Well, sometimes I don't want to talk about it because I feel like the last time I talked about it, I know it wasn't because of me. But shit, man, the Oppenheimer tickets were sold out forever, and
that's right.
This used to be like my little indie secret. Like no one knew. Like I used to be able to. Like I told someone, like I bought tickets to 70 mm IMAX Interstellar, like a day before, like the opening weekend. I bought tickets on a Friday to go Saturday, like, and it wasn't an issue. And people were like, "Huh?" And like Oppenheimer, I had to wait 2 weeks before I could see it because tickets were sold out. Like people did not know about this theater that much back in the day, but now it is exploded because there's more social media. There's more, people kind of know about it. And I think, not to get wildly off topic, people
the craft.
Yeah, I think people want that experience. Like when they go to the theaters, like this is what they want. They want something they can't get at home, and you cannot get this at home.
Well, it's movies. One of the things I tell, it's like movies are like a community experience, and a movie that has energy where and you and I are big people, so we don't exactly love being crammed into a small seat, but the energy in a movie theater is just like a sporting event where you're like, this fucking rules.
Yeah, that's why like when people were getting pissed off at the Zoomers for wilding out during the Minecraft showings, I'm like, guys, like this is what it's all about. Like
right.
it's fun to get excited in a community setting. Like shit,
people have done that for years.
Yes.
Like who hasn't seen like a Clue or what's the other?
Gosh. Independence Day.
There's so many good ones. It's
shit. My daughter is watching the first Shrek now. I don't know how she discovered it, but she's watching it like every day. And I remember it was like the Ratatouille scene where the critic like teleports back to being a kid when he eats the food. Like I'm watching it with her, and at the very end of the movie is Eddie Murphy's donkey singing "I'm a Believer," the monkey song. That's how the movie ends, and like it's a big musical number. And I remember with my mom at that movie theater, like my theater, it was one of my first core memory unlocked. I'm like 10, I think, is when that movie 2001. So I was like 89. So I was 12. And I remember my movie theater at the end of that, everyone was singing and clapping and like cheering like it was like a concert. And it's like that's always like that's like
fun.
That's fun. Like I like that.
That's how we need to, and maybe they'll do this because Andor is just popping off like nobody's business. But Andor is very clearly filmed for the big screen. It's just you and I have enormous televisions with high fidelity. Maybe that's how we break Josh into the Andor realm.
I know.
I watched guys who are listening that aren't Josh. I watched episode 10 last night, the one called No Way Out. And like I'm sitting there and it's like 12:30. I just gotten my sick child to bed again, and I'm sitting there like it was like the end of a high stakes game, and I knew what was coming, and it was still rad. We're gonna get Josh in. Have you? And then we'll let you go if we're talking too long. Have you watched any Last of Us yet?
Yeah, I watched episode 1. I haven't watched episode 2. Me and Megan played both games, so we know what's happening.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I know.
And I was I'll just have to, we're not going to spoil anything. I didn't know other than to say the second episode ranks up there with some of the wilder television shows I've ever seen. Episodes.
It's like Game of Thrones Red Wedding.
Oh yeah, but not only that, but also like there was an episode of Game of Thrones called Hard Home, which was essentially like a zombie apocalypse thing. And my understanding of the Last of Us games is like they talk a lot about stuff that doesn't actually happen on screen.
Yeah.
And there was like it was so cool. And I've been listening to a couple of podcasts about it, and like I keep like our buddy Jordan, one of our co-editors, I think like he gets annoyed with me just because I like slop. And I've been asking him about the pit and things like that. And it's just like the craft of making The Last of Us looks really cool. It just looks really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been fun. I love getting reactions like from people like you that have not like I played the game, so I know exactly how this is all going to end. So, and I know I watched Game of Thrones. I didn't watch all Game of Thrones, but when I would watch an episode with friends, that had read the books, they were the same way. They'd be like looking, like waiting, like looking at us just to see a reaction. It's kind of fun to know what's coming in that way and be able to share it with people that don't.
If I always tell people that are like, well, I just don't know if I need a new TV, and I'm like, guys, just get that OLED. It makes a difference.
It does.
Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for enduring Josh and I talking about other stuff for 5 or 6 minutes. Again, I'll be back on Friday, a time to be decided, but probably like 3 p.m. would be my guess, Central Time. Come prepared with your questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk at my camera for several minutes. We can start to talk draft stuff. There's dates. There's things coming up. We can start to talk free agency. We can start to talk just really, I'm looking forward to not talking about Nico Harrison I just want to talk about other stuff. So we got to start somewhere. Everybody be good. Thank you so much. You got anything else, Josh?
No, let's get out of here.
All right. Shout out to Cowboy. He says, can teams trade picks for a player in the draft? Yes. Oh, you were asking about our Mavs Moneyball draft. I don't know. We're going to have to figure out the rules on that one. Guys, everybody be good. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week. Go Mavs.